and welcome to the Sweaty the Farmer and the Game Design. We have dream-infused fries directly from the void of the galaxies. Super delicious and crunchy. This is episode number 58, The Emerald Dream. I am the Lonely Gamer as the Sweaty.
And I am Lucho the Farmer. Thanks for joining us on this episode. This week we fly over the moon. But wait, there is no moon in Azeroth.
There is no moon in Azeroth?
There is no moon.
Really?
Or there may be. No, there is moon. There is a moon.
What? Really? Can we go and visit the moon?
No.
I never noticed if there is. I think there is a moon on Azeroth.
Yeah, there is moon in Azeroth.
There is a moon on Azeroth. Try to confuse me, Lucho.
Yes, I am.
So, remember, our disclaimer. The discussion here is based on our own opinions and our own in-game experiences. Yes, there is a moon on Azeroth, so there you go. Anything that we say here, it should be taken with a grain of salt. These are opinions, and they are colored by how much we play, what do we like in certain game systems. Of course, we try to be objective when we are analyzing doing these certain reviews, but we cannot help but be colored by our human experience. So if you disagree with any of our opinions or think that we're wrong in some way, shape, or form, please send us a tweet or write us down to our emails, or if you're watching us on YouTube, just leave it down in the comments below and we will attend all your things and we will correct for the next podcast and stuff like that. We will take all the feedback that you want to give us.
We will.
All right. So we continue in our review of World of Warcraft retail as it is now, as of for the release of Shadowlands.
Yes, we do.
So in the last episode, we stopped when we were talking about loot and loot acquisition and that sort of stuff. And we didn't talk about loot acquisition. We talked about how the loot in Warcraft works.
Yeah.
So to close that theme, how do you acquire loot in Warcraft?
By killing stuff. I mean,
great job.
Okay. Close topic.
Yeah.
Basically, gearing up in WoW, it's a literal pyramid thingy.
All right. Is that pyramid scheme?
It is pyramid shaped, but it's not a scheme.
Okay, it's pyramid shaped.
I mean, in the sense that, okay, you hit level 60 or the max level.
Yeah.
And at that point, you start the race to gear up.
Yeah.
And at the beginning, you have like a lot of sources of useful gear. So basically, anything that drops from mobs, any type of world content.
Yeah.
And by world content, we mean things that you just go out in the open world and do it.
Yeah. Small quest.
Yeah, and as you start getting up, the sources of gear or of useful quote unquote gear start reducing. So after you exhaust like the world content gear, then you start moving into dungeons, for example.
Yeah, into more heavy activities. Yeah.
Yeah, like dungeons / PvP.
Correct.
And they made some changes to the game, so now the next natural step is basically like dungeons and raiding.
Yeah.
And dungeons are capped a little bit below the highest possible level of raiding, which is mythic raiding. And at that point you get only a couple of pieces per like activity.
Yeah.
And then you have some weekly quotas to fill that give you
rewards at
some extra reward. But like as you move forward in this gearing up path, you start getting less and less loot.
Yeah.
And that's something that the game has struggled with, like for the last couple of expansions, it had a lot of RNG.
Correct, yeah.
So they were forced to give the players more loot because it was so RNG heavy. But right now they're walking back from that and since rolls are static nowadays, we just have less sources of gear.
Yeah, correct. So and the PvP, I think PvP is as equally capped as Mythics.
Yeah,
as the dungeons, right?
PvP is comparable to dungeons.
There we go. Yeah.
And they're both like the highest, not the strongest, but the highest item level.
Yeah.
In the game comes from the last two bosses in
the raid,
in the mythic difficulty of the raid.
There we go. Yeah.
Which is just basically that's the developers telling the player base, this is the pinnacle
of content in the game.
Of the stuff that you can do.
Yeah, correct. So yeah, very, very interesting.
It is very linear, but very wide.
I don't know. It's very different. Like So I play a lot more looter shooters, quote unquote, games when they give you a lot of loot.
Carrier on the throwing loot at your
face. And I understand why they do it, because there is a randomness in the quality of loot that they will give you. So it's better that they give you a lot of chances to get that perfect loot that you want, than not, right? Because there is a lot of randomness in the items that you get. So if you're in that system, when you want the items to be randomized in order to serve build diversity, you have to give the player a lot of loot on front. Yeah. Right? So they feel that they're progressing, they don't feel bad, and then you have, in the same vein, you have to give the player avenue to kind of get all the trash loot that you get and convert it into something, or like spark imagination of like, oh, I get this piece of loot and now I can do these other things, so I'm gonna keep it. Right? That's the way that the majority of looter shooters works. Right? Destiny, The Division, Monster Hunter. Well, no, Monster Hunter doesn't drop loot.
Borderlands,
Destiny. Yeah. So that's the way the majority of looter shooter works. They throw a lot of items at you because they know that the items themselves have a lot of randomness. In the last two expansions, what was in that camp with their items had a lot of randomness, but it was weird because they were struggling. They were coming from a place where that didn't happen. The thing is, like, they put randomness in their items because they were experimenting with certain progression systems, and they were kind of forcing to give more loot in front, but they didn't do it completely because it didn't feel like you were getting enough loot for the amount of randomness that the item had. But you still have some of those options where the best item that you can get is in that certain part, and you should do this activity. It was not good.
Okay, that's a personal opinion.
Yeah, that's my opinion in terms of what I felt when I was playing this expansion. Now that they went back into, all right, you want this piece of loot, it has this stuff, it is the best for what you're trying to do, you know where to get it, the only thing that you need is time to get it.
but that has always existed. You're making it sound like that was not the case, and that
it was not. Yeah, as I was saying, that's the idea. That was the idea. But in the past two expansions, they were struggling with randomness. So you felt that you needed more drops.
The randomness didn't come from the gear itself.
No, it comes from the expansion. Yeah, it comes from the experimental expansive powers in the expansion.
Yeah, it came from some of the systems.
Yeah, correct.
Around the gear, but like it was not the gear.
Like, to be honest, I do prefer this kind of things because of the nature of World of Warcraft. I do prefer this kind of progression. That you know what gear do you need, and you know what sources, and you do a thing.
But you're okay. But that has always been the case.
Yeah, that's always been the case. Like, the problem is that got disrupted by the amount of randomness that were introduced in the past expansion.
Explain yourself, because I don't know if I agree with you.
Like, what happened in BFA is that you have these pieces of loot that had abilities on it, but they were not guaranteed, right? You know that they come from certain source, right? As we know now, wherever things. But he had a random component where you can have this or this other specific thing, and he was not assured that you will get the specific thing that you need, right?
Okay.
In that sense, you are not guaranteed that even if you put the time in the activity that they're pointing to you, there's no.
That's still the case.
But there is no randomness in the items. You are not guaranteed a drop, but you are guaranteed that the item is the one that you need. In BFA, we're not guaranteed the drop. You were guaranteed a close to the item that you will need. Because there were these random systems in it, like corruption or asset traits.
Okay, asset traits were fixed.
Yeah, after what?
Yeah, but they were fixed.
But there's always like they select a pool of asset traits.
No. If you picked a piece of gear, like if you got, for example, like Sienna chess piece.
Yeah.
It will always have the same asset traits.
Open to you.
Yes.
Yeah, but you cannot.
So the piece of gear was fixed. There was no randomness on the asset trait.
And then you have the other side, which is corruption, which was random.
That's different. But asset traits were not random.
Were not random at the beginning of the expansion?
Yeah, they changed that in the first major patch.
Well, I'm referring to that. Like they were random at the beginning of the expansion.
Yeah, but that didn't last long.
Well, it's the example I'm giving, and then the same with corruption. Sometimes your item corruption, and they fix that with the corruption buying system. After a while.
True, but you're making it like still your best in slot items, like you knew were way there and where you could get.
Yeah, that's the baseline of World Warcraft. Yeah, what I mean is the problem was that because you have that randomness when they were, and I'm talking when these systems were launched, because you had that randomness that you could get or not a corruption, you feel like you were missing that something, that the item was not the proper one. That's what I mean.
Fair, but that's. I feel like that's because the community misunderstood what corruptions are. But
yeah,
that's a different discussion.
Anyways, so and right now we have like fixed. We don't have no randomness. We built our own legendary items, which is the thing in this expansion. With the stats that we want on top of that, right? You buy the missives for the stats, the secondary stats that you want in the item. So we have a lot of control right now in the we don't have any control that if we're gonna get the drop or not. But we do have control that when we get the piece that we need is the good piece that we want. It doesn't have any extra random components to it.
Yeah.
Yep. There we go. And that's how loot works in World of Warcraft.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Cool. All right, now we can move on to builds and build diversity. So beyond my thing is like, of course, every game has builds and build diversity because of their system and spec system, right? That's the baseline of diversity in this game. That you pick a class and then you pick a spec, right? My question is there like a deeper build focus in terms of what you can do with your items?
Yeah.
I know that because of the corruptions in the previous expansion, you can like focus on this particular thing and do this particular stuff. But I don't know, like
specific with words. That doesn't mean anything.
What?
You have to be more specific with
right.
words. But the phrase that you just said means nothing.
Why not? That you can. I remember that Seal was like I don't know much about this part of the game because I follow a guide for what I'm doing in the game, right? I haven't explored in building really if it's if build diversity from the item standpoint in World of Warcraft is like the thing that you should be doing. I have no idea. Like I haven't explored this part of the game. But I remember
distinctly. However you want.
All right, but I remember distinctly that Seal was doing this thing with his paladin when he was just stacking mastery.
Yeah.
Through the roof, and that gives him like a lot of damage and a lot of procs for the corruption thing that he was doing and stuff like that.
Okay.
Right. What I like beyond builds from the class and spec standpoint, like your class and your spec do X amount thing. I have no idea how in World of Warcraft the builds based in items works. I know, for example, that I go and check. At least for me, that I play Fury, I go and check and say, oh, which are the stats that I really care. So I care about stamina, I care about haste, and I care about mastery in this expansion because of the way the items are built, and then after that, crit, right? And I remember that in BFA, I care to get haste at a certain point. Like I want 20% haste, and from there on I don't need any more haste, and then everything else I want in crit, right? But I'm talking like I see a guy. So I don't know.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't know what your point is.
My point is I don't know how the builds based on items in World of Warcraft really works. That's my point.
It's not based on item, it's based on your ability.
Explain it, Lucho. I think you know more about
I mean, the items do nothing on themselves. Like they don't have a special property.
Yeah.
So you can just go and see. I mean, you physically can just go.
Yeah.
Pick a skill that you really like.
A skill on the like a skill of your class. So yeah. I don't know. So when you're saying that the builds are based around the skills of the particular character.
Yeah, pretty much.
So if I want to build,
the basic way that a build works is you look like you think what your major cooldowns are.
Yeah.
And you try to buff those as much as you can.
Okay.
Like at least every PS spec has a couple of major cooldowns.
All right.
And how usually rotations work is that you try to line up those cooldowns with the damage windows.
All right. Yeah.
And what the cooldowns do, for the most part, is buff your stats.
Yep.
So you should if you want to make a build, what you usually do is you pick one of the big cooldowns. You try to buff that cooldown as much as you can.
Okay, I get it.
How do you do it? There are multiple ways. That's what I'm saying. The items themselves, the gear itself, has nothing. You just look how a cooldown works, and then you try to buff that cooldown as much as you can. That was what Seal was doing with his paladin. Basically, he was thinking wings. Wings is the cooldown that I want to buff.
All right. Yeah,
what does it buff? It gives you a lot of mastery, and mastery gives you a lot of damage. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna get as much mastery as I can, and as much haste as I can, so that I can proc wings as often as possible.
Yeah.
And then when I do, I have as much mastery as possible.
All right.
And in those couple of seconds that the cooldown is active, you pump out all the damage.
I see.
That's one way of doing it. For example, for Beastmaster Hunter, you have two major cooldowns. One of them basically gives you free, not stacks, but like charges of another skill that buffers your pet's damage.
Yeah.
So what you do is that you increase the number. Basically, you want to keep uptime in one of your buffs that ability gives you. So what you try to do is stack as much as you can of critical strike, so that you have a better chance of resetting the duration for that proc. And the longer the proc lasts, the most damage you're gonna do. So you try to buff those.
So you're buffing like a particular cooldown.
Basically.
That makes sense. Now I understand why. When I look at the guy of
that's the basic idea.
When they look at it, like the things like I don't know. I feel like warrior is this weird. I don't know. It's a very streamlined class, and you don't have like. That's the thing. Warrior doesn't have big cooldowns. Warrior has big defensive cooldowns. Is what warrior has, but he doesn't have like big damage windows because it's all procs and that's it. It's all procs and rage generation, right? So for what you're telling me, I glance as like, all right, it makes now the build I'm following makes sense because the focus is condemn, and right now the focus is not crit anymore because now condemn if you pair it with the Ventier ability, it leaves a dot of damage on the enemy. And the interesting thing about condemn is that it deals 20% more damage to enemies below certain health threshold. Right? Sure. So and condemn has like a 2 seconds cooldown, something like that. So of course you want as much haste to keep cooldown up to lower that cooldown to like a second or something like that, so you can spam condemn in single target damage. But you don't want crit anymore because you're interested in raw damage, because that not only builds up the 20% damage of condemn, but it builds the dot that it leaves on the enemy. Yeah. So folks, that's how you do builds in.
I mean, that's the basic idea on how building in WoW works.
So you pick a big cooldown. Yeah.
That's the easiest thing too. Or basically, you have to. If it is not a cooldown, you probably have a proc or like a window where you do most of your damage.
Yeah, correct.
And what you want to do is make that window to proc as often as possible, to make it as long as possible, or to make it as strong as possible.
Correct.
And that's when, like if you're gonna increase the duration, you're just gonna make it hit harder, and then those are the specs and classes that are really burst. If you can make like the buffs like a stack and like extend for a long period of time, those are the classes that have better sustain damage.
Correct.
So that you just look, basically you just try to understand your basic rotation. You look at where things you think are cool in your rotation. You see how they interact with the rest of your abilities by reading the tooltip, and then you basically stack the secondary stats necessary to try to do what you want.
Yeah, makes sense.
That's the basic idea. It's not as easy because it basically requires a lot, like a deeper understanding of your rotation.
Yep.
And by that I mean you need to know how the spells interact between them.
Correct.
More than just the mechanical knowledge of just executing your rotation.
Yeah.
And that's what you usually see that's for example why it's really common in WoW to use follow guides.
Yeah,
because coming up with good builds is difficult, and
that's definitely like I've been playing.
Theory crafting in WoW is not that easy.
Correct. It has a lot of moving parts. It has a lot of procs with other things, and every class has its different procs. Some it was great with something else.
You need to have a deep understanding on the interactions of your ability.
Yeah, it's built to the point that I follow guides for the Fury. And after playing like what? How much do we play BFA for? Like 8 months?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. 8 months. I think I started playing in November last year, no?
Maybe, I don't remember.
So it's been like, for me it's been like 10 months, almost a year playing Fury. And maybe I'm done, or maybe I didn't play. I don't know. But now I'm understanding the rotations now I'm understanding where the damage come from. Now I'm like understanding the tactics of my damage my damage windows and that sort of stuff. And Fury is a relatively easy spec to pick up, so it's complicated.
Yeah, I mean, there is a difference between a spec being mechanically easy to execute.
Yeah, and something else different is the interactions and that sort of stuff. So yeah. I mean,
that's and in that sense, there is potential for a lot of build diversity. The problem is that it's hard to come up with something.
Yeah, it's hard to get grasp on it with the system.
It just requires a lot of time investment into actually reading your spells and trying to understand
and analyzing which procs are going to benefit you and how much damage you can do and what stat do they actually care about and that sort of stuff.
But there is a lot of potential, but it is a lot of work, and most people, even like top tier mythic raiders, must just follow guides. Like each class has like if you go to Discord, like to specific Discord channels for the classes and stuff like that, you'll find a couple of theory crafters who are the ones that basically produce
the majority of the guides, and they're the ones who crunch the numbers and explore the what abilities gaining from the collection of items that we're gonna have access on the next expansion, and the interactions and that sort of stuff.
If you're just a player, it may feel that it doesn't have that much diversity.
Yeah.
Because most people just follow Wowhead or ICOANs or any, and they just follow it. But there's a lot of potential to your own thing. It just takes a lot of.
I wonder if this complexity of the system comes from the age of the game, or if it was built with that purpose, with intent. I think it comes from the complexity of the game. So many interaction parts and parts.
It was probably a mix of both.
Yeah.
Like it's a mix of each spec has a lot of spells in it.
Yeah.
And it is hard to grasp how all of those interact at all times under all circumstances.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
So that makes it really, really hard to grasp. And like some of those are on purpose. So developers know basically what the major interactions between the abilities are, and like huge props actually to people in Blizzard who are like the class designers and that's what they do. Like when you think of these things, it's just like balancing WoW. It's complete nightmare.
Yeah. It's really difficult.
like you can design something.
Yeah.
Corruptions, Azure traits, conduits, give it whatever name you want.
Yeah.
You can design it with a given purpose. But for one or for a small team, it's pretty much impossible to figure out
how everything moves
all the interactions that are going to happen and how people are going to use it. And that's what people like when you think of these things and people complain, but the game is not balanced.
Yeah. We talk about this in a previous episode when we were saying like the balancing WoW it's a healthy state, not an absolute. It's a healthy state in the game where your classes are kind of like in the same spectrum of damage and stuff.
Yeah, but then you see all these people that come to the forums and say and yell at the developers, like, you stupid people that cannot develop a conduit and stuff like that. Like, do it. Like, you go out and do it and try to
calculate everything.
That doesn't break all the game with all the spells.
Yeah, you that are probably like simming everything that you do in the game, try to do that by hand.
No, I mean developers probably sim the thing.
I know.
Like like you probably assign something with an intention.
Yeah.
And this is still really hard to see how all the things interact.
Correct.
So I don't know. I get kind of angry with those people that complain kind of blindly. Like, I get it. The game is not completely balanced. They will figure it out. Like,
yeah. But build diversity in World of Warcraft exists. The thing is like is super hard to figure out. It's time consuming. It's time consuming and hard to get into that. And there's a lot more game. And in the same topic, how does legendary works in World of Warcraft? It has been strange for me because I know that in Legion there was like the weapon that you pick and that was your legendary. It has like it had a tree of abilities that you can open on it and yada yada, and then you got BFA when you have a neck that is legendary and it's giving you all these stats, and after that you have a cloak.
Abilities.
Yeah. And then after that you have a cloak which was legendary and it was giving you stuff and resistant to things. And I'm like, I was thinking about it, I was like, oh, maybe just compare it to exotics, but
I mean, they are in a sense exotic.
Yeah.
Like and especially the ones that we're gonna have now for Shadowlands, because we cannot equip more than one legendary at a time.
Yeah. So that was interesting. Like, oh,
the ones that we have now are closer to like the thing that we have called exotics in the past in the podcast, because basically they have like these legendary effects are designed for one specific spell, like to boost that spell or to boost like a specific interaction.
Yeah, for me, for example, my best legendary gives me like an extra talent proc, which is super, super interesting.
Yeah, whatever it is, but like the basic design is very straightforward. You just buff one spell, buff one cooldown.
Correct.
Or do something around those lines. So it's very exotic in that sense that it's a thing designed to buff in a certain way a specific thing.
Yeah.
On your class, and we will only be able to equip one at a time.
Yeah. Which is
that's yeah.
but at the same time, we have the ability that now that these legendaries can be used in different contexts. So you can have like a legendary for mythics, and then you have a best legendary for raids, and then you have a good legendary from PvP and that sort of stuff, and that gives that variety in the way that the legendaries function with whatever you're doing.
I mean, if you look at it, it is just like the legendaries that we have now are a new thing.
Yeah,
and it's just that the legendaries, quote unquote, that we had in Legion and BFA, they just became conduits and sold things.
Correct. They just separated those systems. And well, now the question here is, because we're doing the review, is it if legendaries are kind of like exotics, does it accomplish the parameter that we have put for exotic, that it will change your way to play?
It depends on the legendary. Some of them do, some of them don't.
All right. So we have kind of a mixed bag of legendaries that actually change the way to play, and legendaries that actually doesn't.
The problem is that in WoW, since one spell or one button that you press, it's just one thing in a sea of things that you're pressing. It cannot fundamentally change how you play your class.
All right. Do you wish?
But it can change like the way that you approach your whole window of damage, for example. Okay. So for example, my best in slot Mythic Blood Legendary as a protection paladin is one thing that it gives me, like if I use the shield that jumps between people, it gives me a buff that makes that one of my abilities does a lot of extra damage per stack.
Okay.
And the stack depends on how many people do I hit. And I also have a conduit that buffs that same ability.
All right.
So now the question is,
that's the thing that hits as a truck. Yeah.
Yeah, but now the approach is, okay. Before, I was always using the shield to pull.
Yeah.
But now, like, if I have the proc AOL, I should be using it on big pulls. I have to think to line up the buffs.
Yeah.
So that I can deal as much damage as possible as the tank.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
So is it changing the way that I play fundamentally? No, like I'm pressing the same button, the same spells, more or less in the same order.
Yeah.
Is it changing the way that I approach each pull and encounter? A little bit.
All right, I get
So
you.
it matters in that weird place of, does it fundamentally change? Not really. Does it change it enough that it makes a change on how you should approach your class? A little.
A little.
but again, that's the kind of thing that's if you care about being somewhat efficient.
Yeah.
Because you can play WoW in a completely casual way, and it doesn't matter. It depends on how you play. So if you're trying to be somewhat efficient, it changes how you're doing it. If you don't, and sometimes you don't, because you don't do world content, for example, thinking about all these things.
Yeah, all the efficiency and that stuff. You
just care about these things when you're raiding or doing high keys or stuff like that. So.
Yeah, I get it.
It does change it, and it doesn't. It depends on a lot of things.
So is it good? Is it bad? Is it accomplish what it wants to accomplish as a legend? As a thing? Because we in all this review we talk about these special slots that they should change the way that you play the game in a fundamental manner, and you're saying that sometimes they don't, sometimes they do.
Yeah, I mean,
is it good? Is it bad? Is it meh? Does it
in
excite
light
you
of
to get a legendary?
It is very exciting to get a legendary. Especially because you can choose what legendary you get.
Yeah.
So it is very exciting to grab.
Yeah.
And it is very exciting to see them in action.
That's cool. Does it change fundamentally the way that you play the game?
That
yes and no. So in a scale
sometimes it doesn't. It depends on the skill. It depends
it's
on the
not the perfect. It's not the perfect system.
No,
it's a good one. It's a good one. It's not the perfect.
I think it's good enough for WoW.
Fair. Yeah. More than what you're saying, that it was very interesting because they removed the tree system that the legendaries had to make it super extra special. And they move it to the conduits. That's a very good point, and of course that's affect the.
That's a whole different avenue of power progression. Yeah, that has nothing to do with gear.
No, I'm talking about the legendary. The fact that you remove that sort of progression from it, that affects the way that you relate.
We just had to mention it because all these things are called legendaries in game.
Yeah, correct.
But all of them work in different ways.
It's different sets. Thinking about in sets of Magic is a different mechanic.
It is. It is a mechanic that disappeared in this expansion.
Yeah, and it was moved to another type of cards, and we're fine. Basically. And maybe that's why this game is so difficult to analyze. They actually behave as a Magic the Gathering expansions. Anyways, so now we get to what do you do in World of Warcraft beyond exploring the world, seeing the lore and the quest, right?
I mean, it depends, and we're gonna give one answer.
Are we gonna give
because not everyone is interested in what you're gonna say.
What do you mean?
Okay, what do you do? You raid, you dungeons, and you.
There you go. That's what I was gonna say. It's like
a lot of people are not interested in those.
Fair enough. Yes. So there is more things to do in WoW beyond exploring the world, doing quests, absorbing the lore, doing random stuff, and opening and doing events and stuff. And the three big things that you do beyond that are raids, Mythic Plus, PvP, that is arenas and battlegrounds. Those are the big ones, right?
Yeah.
So
but basically these are the three core activities of the game
Yeah.
at quote unquote endgame.
Endgame. Yeah, correct.
Which is kind of a lie because that's basically what the game is raiding, doing dungeons, and doing creep.
Yes.
But then again, that's just the game.
It's funny because the game has a lot of things attached to it, right? You have like the world quest, the story that you're advancing. You have like these mini activities that you can do in the zones. Right now we have a new system that you can do with the thing. You have the covenant thing. You have the table for the missions.
You have a lot of parallel systems, but these are just like the core components of the game that are clearly designed by Blizzard and by the team to be the focus of the game. Like it's clearly designed for that.
Yeah, when you see a WoW player, he generally raids a lot, or he generally do a lot of Mythic Plus, or do a lot of PvP, or a combination of those.
Not really, but
in general,
I wouldn't even say that.
You won't even say that.
No, there are a lot of players who focus solely on transform. There are a lot of players who focus solely on the action.
Yeah, you're right.
I wouldn't even say that most players do these things. No, like most players that we interact with, but that's because those are the things that we do.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's a skew view.
Yeah, it's a skew view. You're absolutely right. But these are the activities that are clearly designed to be the pinnacle of the game, right?
That I agree with. These are definitely things that Blizzard designs for, like, as chunks of content for people to take part into.
All right. So let's begin. So what are raids in World of Warcraft? They invented raiding. Let's be clear with this.
Did they? I don't know.
I think they did. Like,
dude, I don't know. RuneScape. It's a freaking old game.
Did raiding first?
There is probably a game out there that did it first. I wouldn't say that WoW invented it. I would say that WoW made it popular and made it
like that thing, like the
thing.
And then I think they made like the gold standard. Like, what is raiding? You go and look at Warcraft, right?
Yeah, I would say that they perfected it, and even I'm doubtful of that.
Yeah,
but they definitely made it popular. Raiding as a thing became well known because of WoW.
Yeah, correct. And so, what is raiding for those who are not familiar? Yes.
It is basically a piece of content, like a large piece of content that is designed to tackle in large groups of people.
Correct.
Specifically between 20 and 40 people.
Yeah. Between
10 and 40 people.
Yeah, correct. And the idea of the activity, as Blizzard defined it, it's a place with a bunch of bosses that you need a lot of cooperation to beat. And then you have a final boss, right? It's
like a lot of mechanics.
Yeah, it's like a big dungeon with a lot of bosses. In all the encounters are different, and you have to do different stuff in the encounters. And then you have a big end boss that is supposed to be the most difficult of things, but they keep this thematic of boss encounters. That's what a raid is, and it's designed for a lot of players to cooperate, and in that cooperation beat the boss and their mechanics and that sort of stuff. And of course they have lore. They're generally telling a story about the big bad of whatever patch we're in, or
they usually take some sort of place in the large storytelling of the game.
Correct. And they are the pinnacle of playing WoW. The most difficult thing to do. There's the activity that needs more coordination and cooperation. That's the idea of the design of raids, right?
Yeah.
So, for us, what do we find cool of raiding?
For me, it's a combination of that it is a challenging activity.
Yeah.
But you get to do it with friends and with people that you like.
Yeah.
And you get to have a good like you can strike the balance of having a good time and doing challenging content.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the appealing thing for me.
That's one of the most interesting parts of that. Like it feels like in terms of sports, it feels like you built a team to go into a football tournament or something like that.
and like, we're super chill, but like we still prepare and
yes,
you help people to gear up. You expect people to not know the fights, but like
be prepared
for the fight.
Yeah.
And prepare a lot of things for the raid. And it's that mix between team building and like, I don't know, it's cool.
It's cool. So yeah,
it's a large group of people, because even 10 people,
it's a lot of people. Like
a lot of it's a lot of people sitting all at once doing the same thing in a game.
Yeah, correct.
and 10 is the smallest number.
Yeah, and 10 is the smallest number. That's the smallest thing that you can. So is the I think raids in the way that they designed them as in World of Warcraft is the pinnacle of the idea of the game. The original idea of World of Warcraft, with everything, when you were exploring the world and you have to rely on more people, you have to be social, you have to find groups, you have to interact with other players, and for your own progression, you kind of depend on other players because you kind of do everything alone.
That is still true. Like for as many lone wolves as are there in WoW nowadays, WoW is still a social game.
Correct. His core.
And if you want to progress to the highest difficulty levels of content, you need to rely on people.
Yeah, correct.
It's just a social game.
Yeah, which super cool, man. Raids are super cool, and they define the parameters of raids. So you want encounters, you want puzzles on the encounters, and you want a progression of bosses from easiest to hardest.
You know what I like about raiding a lot? The process of learning the fight group. Like not just like knowing the mechanics, because we can all watch a guide and like know the mechanics.
yeah.
But like learn the execution, like just
it's like I'm doing this, I have these responsibilities, we have to move and do this, and you expect that the other people do it, and you rely on other people to like keep you alive through a thing that you have no control over it. and that sort of stuff, right? But
it's like learning what your responsibilities are, learning how can you help, learning like that learning process, like in a group. I find it really appealing.
It's super cool. We enjoyed the biggest reason why I'm playing World of Warcraft, beyond Lucho insisting that I play.
Did you like it?
And selling me on Shadowlands is that raiding is the best. Is the best thing for me. Is the thing that I most enjoy in the game. Right? Like I could not do anything else in World of Warcraft, but raiding is the thing that I love about the game. So in that sense, super cool. And I still believe that is the golden standard in raiding. Challenging activity that depends a lot of people, that has interesting mechanics and puzzles to figure out, and the emphasis is in the collective coordination in all the things, and you have leaders, and you have healers that have certain responsibilities, and all this variety of roles of things where the people can fit in and enjoy. Right, and that's the most cool thing in WoW raids, right? And it's difficult to see that in other games. Of course, the closers they are all templates of these kind of activities. Like I think about Final Fantasy 14 is the same, right? You have your team, you have your healers, blah blah blah, your mechanics, and everybody has a thing. Of course, Final Fantasy 14 raids are more. How do you describe it? They're more spectacular in terms of visuals and spectacle than WoW raids. I think that's the mark of 14 raids.
they are more cinematic in a sense.
Yeah, they're more about the spectacle and what you're doing, and the boss looks
Definitely,
insane.
yeah. And in that sense, the war raids are more toned down.
Yeah, more like the boss is cool and what you're doing is cool. But yeah, are more.
And I'm not saying that the 14 raids have no mechanics.
Yeah.
But they're definitely, at least from the visual point, they look more spectacular.
Yeah, correct.
The wall rates are kind of more functional in that sense.
Yeah.
Even though they look amazing and
it's
just toned down.
Yes. And then we have the Destiny and Elder Scrolls Online raids, which are small raids. For saying, because the maximum of raiders in a Elder Scrolls Online raid is 10, and in Destiny are just 6, right?
Yeah.
So, they have their cool things. The fact that you have a smaller thing, you have more responsibilities and different challenges in Elder Scrolls Online. And in Destiny, the raid is a more dynamic thing of doing things quickly and killing certain stuff, even if there is mechanics and puzzles on it. It's more accelerated in pace. That's the Destiny thing, because they have to keep like that rhythm because of the way the game functions.
I feel like in Destiny, you cannot ignore all the mechanics, but you can push through and make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
Like ignore a lot of parts of the mechanics.
Correct, yeah.
And just sheer force.
Yeah, in some countries you can like just... Yeah.
But that in WoW is more rare. They're definitely more designed so that you have to do the things. And if you don't do the things, you die.
Yeah, if you don't, you die, yeah. So, all right. Then the question becomes is like, are WoW raids good? What are the good things beyond what we'd say in the raids in WoW?
What do you mean WoW raids?
So are they good? Are they do you recommend it to play WoW just to go for the raids? Are they good experiences? Are they cool indoor?
If you find a group of people who like a group of people who are all in the same mindset as you, you're gonna have a fun time raiding with them. Yeah. But it is all about like finding the right group of people.
Correct.
And there is no avoiding that.
Yeah, it's more pronounced than any other raids that I play, right? Because in the other systems, like you if you have cleared your role, it's much easier to just do your job and you're good, right?
Yeah.
But in WoW raid, it actually demands a bigger coordination, even if there is the option to bug the raids. But
yeah, I mean you can bug the raids, but that's not what the raid shines. It definitely is one of those activities that shines when you are doing it with a group of people that are all in the same mindset.
Yeah.
If you don't have that, it's not gonna be that enjoyable.
Correct.
That's for better or for worse.
Yeah, and that's where the raids in World of Warcraft shines.
Yeah, and they're designed that way. Like they're just a piece of content designed with
super design. Yeah,
with a group of people in mind, coordinated, all like in the same mind space. That's correct. Not the case. It's not you're not gonna enjoy it as much. Correct.
And compared with the other raids, I would say that's the shining thing about World of Warcraft. The high amount of coordination that you require, compared with the other styles of raids that we have experimented, that we have done so far.
Yeah, I don't know. Like we did we did some raiding in Destiny 2 with some friends.
We did raiding in Division 2.
We did raiding in Division 2.
Yeah,
that was fine. It's really light on the mechanics.
Yeah.
Like I feel like the Division 2 raids were more of a gear check kind of thing.
Yep, correct.
And as long as people can do basic instructions, it's fine.
Yeah.
It requires coordination, but it's really basic. It's nothing.
It's nothing like crazy.
Yeah. And the Destiny 2, it's kind of the same. Yeah. And we did it with friends, and we had a blast doing it.
Yeah, correct.
But I don't know why I didn't get as much enjoyment from learning those fights than what I do when I'm learning the wall fight.
What do you feel? Like, what do you say? Why? Why is that?
I don't know. It's kind of. It's probably based on the feeling that you can be less clinical if you want in Destiny.
Yeah.
That it's more forgiving.
All right.
If you make mistakes.
Yeah.
That means that I care less about it.
All right. Yeah, I get you. So you're missing like a part of the challenge of a higher challenge.
I don't know if it's the challenge. It's maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. Yes, I like Destiny raids, but
no, I like them, and it was cool when we were doing it.
Yeah.
But it was never that satisfying.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's like maybe it's the amount of challenge and things you have to have in mind in a wall raid compared with the Destiny, which is a more mechanic endeavor. Like you can, how to explain? All right, wall race demands a more gameplay-based coordination and concentration, where you not only have to be aware of that you're doing your rotation correctly and you are taking advantage of the windows of damage that you have, but you have to be aware of certain points where the enemy is going to hit you with a truck and what you have to do about it, and where the mechanics are going to do while keeping all the other things in mind, and how can you help the rest of your group with certain cooldowns that you have available and stuff that you can do to pass these certain points of like high damage or movement or that sort of stuff, right? So it engages you in a lot of different fronts, right? And then compare with the Destiny, where your job is how efficient are you? Like think about this. Like if you have no ads in certain encounters with Destiny, the raids are super easy.
Fair, yeah.
The counters and the puzzles are super easy, right? So it becomes more of a mechanical challenge when you are when the way that you succeed in the raid is that you're super efficient dealing with sources of damage and the ads that the boss treating you, and then you do the mechanics on top of that, right? But if you strip away the ads in a lot of the Destiny in raids encounters, the mechanics and what you have to do against the boss is super easy.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Right? And I think that's the main difference, because if you strip the ads from a lot of, like, even a lot of boss encounters in World of Warcraft does not have ads, right? You do just mechanics, right?
Yeah.
And I think that is the thing, right? That the way that it engages you in that activity.
Yeah,
right?
I see what you mean.
Yeah, there you go. And those are rates in WoW. They're great. I think for me, for closing a statement, they are the golden standard in rating, in how you build it, what do you expect from it, what kind of challenge you should get. And I haven't played anything else that satisfied me the way that the WoW raid satisfied me. That's what I'm gonna say. It could be a personal opinion, I don't know, but that's what I'm gonna say as closing.
in our short experience, I agree with that.
There you go. And now we move to Mythic Plus.
Yeah, so this is a concept borrowed probably from Diablo.
Yes.
So what Mythic Plus is, like, the game has dungeons. And
yes,
dungeons
which
are like
it always have dungeons, like for forever.
Yeah, but so a dungeon is just like a 4 boss like instance, like with 4 bosses and a lot of trash like adds in between them.
Correct.
And it's the same idea. Like you just have to go through these things.
Some bosses has minor mechanics. Some bosses have major mechanics. They all have.
All the bosses have mechanics that you have to that matter when you're doing Mythic Plus.
Yeah.
And the whole idea of Mythic Plus is that it is this infinite scaling difficulty thing.
Yeah.
That basically each time you complete a Mythic Plus dungeon, it gives you a key for a specific dungeon and a specific difficulty that you have to complete in a given time.
Yeah. So if you succeed in that challenge, you get a new key for another dungeon at a higher level difficulty. And the dungeons on itself have as a modifier. Yeah. And the modifiers are set in a given rotation, and they pull from a pool of modifiers. Like there are different types of modifiers. They're just things that make the fights and the whole dungeon harder. A little bit different.
And in terms of and one question is, what difference is there between a dungeon and a raid? Because there are also small raids in WoW, which like 2 or 3 bosses raid.
Correct.
The difference is that in Mythic Plus or in Mythic, the trash is it's as important
as the boss encounters. Yeah, correct. How do you handle the trash? Where do you pass? Where do you pass? What do you pull?
So for example, during the raid, you cannot just go through the trash and you just kill it.
Yeah, and it's not that bad.
But for the Mythic dungeons, like you have to plan around, since it's time.
Yeah.
And you have to kill a certain amount of trash. You have to plan ahead how you're gonna handle the trash.
Yeah. And we said that it's borrowed from Diablo because it's exactly the same Greater Rift system.
It is basically a Greater Rift system with both like the affixes that Diablo has are kind of a version of the modifiers that we have in Mythic Plus.
Correct. Yes.
The other way around. The Mythic Plus modifiers are a version of the classic affixes in Diablo 3.
Correct.
And the whole key, like a scaling key.
And there's time, then you have to kill a certain amount of trash. All that comes from the Diablo 3.
It is a very Diablo 3 Greater Rift.
Yeah, and of course the intention of this is that the dungeon will be a challenge every time you run it, and it will be different. So it's like kind of it's kind of a scalable infinite system if you want to like invest a lot of time in doing Mythic Plus, and it's nice, it's fine, it's cool. It's another challenge that you can tackle. Of course, in a more condensed way.
Explain that this is tackled in like 5-man.
Yeah, 5-man. Yeah, that was my next one. So just 5-man.
That's the only
dungeons, and it's time, so it's a bigger challenge. And you have to play around. So it's another axis to challenge inside the game.
It is out of all these core activities, is the newest one because this became a thing in Legion.
Correct. Yeah.
But I know this is probably the one that I enjoy the most. If I'm being like, I love grading, but I like the challenge of Mythic Plus a little bit more.
Fair. You got a lot of Mythic Plus.
Yeah.
I do like it. I find it enjoyable. I do enjoy more raiding, but the Mythic Plus is a cool. There is certain dungeons that I absolutely hate.
Everyone has that, but like
but
like for example, the whole idea of you have to plan the trash and you have to plan ahead the path that you're gonna take.
Yeah,
I like that planning phase and thinking, okay, we're gonna fight this pack of enemies because it's easier for us, or because we can handle it this way, or we can kite these mobs
and
here.
Because we have this modifier, then we can do X or Y. Yeah.
And we have this modifier, we wanna pull these mobs and not those other mobs.
So
depending on the affix, I just like that planning.
It's a puzzle. It's a puzzle that changes over time and week per week, right? Which makes it super interesting that you have to analyze things, and that depends on what teammates do you have too. Because if you have like good teammates that are good on AOE or single target, then you have to think how much do you pull, etc. So
for certain affixes. that heavy more on the tanks or on the healers. You have to be careful of the size of the pools, of how fast you're going through
the dungeon. Yeah.
Like I like that aspect a lot. So Mythic Plus.
Cool.
Like the whole. We're gonna spend a lot of time preparing for it.
Yeah.
We're gonna try to execute flawlessly.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Well, I didn't get that much in Mythic Plus and BFA. But for what I've done, it's cool. I would like to get more into it. Maybe I will find it cooler if I get more into it. Yeah. I've done a little more by now in Shadowlands of what is the expansion's been alive that is 2 weeks. I've done a little more dungeons in tank mode than in DPS, so that's you learn a little bit more of the dungeons within that role specifically because you're the one that knows what to pull, where to go. And
you're leading the way.
Yeah, so that has changed my perspective a little bit on them. That maybe I will probably think of like getting into it.
I like the challenge. I like the preparation. I like the fact that when you're struggling with a specific dungeon on a specific week, you can think about what you're doing wrong, but you won't have to face the same problem next week because the affixes change week to week.
Yeah.
So, but you still have time to think about it and to plan with weeks ahead, and I like that process. I like it a lot.
Cool.
And in that sense, rating is more static.
Yeah,
the rate doesn't.
You always have the same modifiers. The only thing that changes if you're going up or difficulties here is that the enemies
you have
take
to
more
learn the
to
extra
kill
mechanics and
you have
stuff,
extra mechanics. Yeah. But it's set, right?
It's a little bit. It's way more.
So you think Mythic Plus was a great addition to World of Warcraft?
I think Mythic Plus was an amazing addition to World of Warcraft. I like the infinite scaling thing. I like the idea of reaching that place where the only way that you're gonna succeed is by executing flawlessly your strategy.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.
Any little mistake, wipe you out.
Yeah.
For example, I enjoy the Mythic tournament that they do.
Yeah. I seen that. That's crazy.
And then you see all the crazy strategies that the pros pull out. And you see that false execution of doing the little things that they pull this mob here, it's like because they wanna. I like that a lot.
Cool.
But I don't know. It's just that I like planning stuff. So.
Yeah. I didn't get that much in Mythic. I didn't get much in Mythic pushing in last expansion. Maybe that will change this expansion. Maybe I'm enjoying more I absolutely enjoying. I'm enjoying the majority of the dungeons except one in this expansion, more than in BFA. So that's a plus to start with, right?
I really like the BFA dungeons. I cannot say much about the Shadowlands ones.
Yeah.
I will wait until we get the season open and we get actual keys to run.
Yep.
And we'll see how hard the keys get.
I wonder if they're gonna modify times because of the size of the dungeons, right?
Yeah. I mean, each dungeon has its own timer.
Yeah. So but I absolutely hate Plague Falls.
It's not that bad.
It's horrible.
It's just,
everything explodes, everything kills you.
No, the place that bug in it, it's horrible.
It's absolutely terrible.
But there are just dungeons that are bug killers.
Yeah.
For example, in BFA, Shrine of the Storm was a bug.
And the other one, the one that was a jail.
Toldagor.
Yeah, that's another one that was terrible to bug.
Yeah, Toldagor, Shrine, and those two were especially hard in bug.
Yeah, correct.
Just because the trash is so unforgiving.
Yeah, correct.
And Shadowlands is gonna have some of those mobs.
Yeah, I will tell you, Plague Falls is one of those. Trash is absolutely.
Plague Falls is definitely gonna be a bug killer, and the other side is gonna be another one.
I don't find the other side that bad, really.
The last boss is gonna be challenging in bug.
For the division of the players.
Yep.
Okay.
For avoiding the stuff.
Yeah, I get you.
I'm totally like the first 3 autos on their side are fine.
Yeah,
the last one is gonna be a puck killer.
Yeah. I get you.
I guarantee it.
Yeah, I agree. Anyways, Mythic Plus is great. The dungeons in World of Warcraft are super cool. And they're full of
I think
lore.
they are underrated, but they are a little.
Yeah. And finally, the last axis of this endgame activity is PvP, arenas, and BGs.
Arenas and battlegrounds.
Yeah. So, arenas are 2v2, 3v3, 5v5? Encounter.
No, 2v2, 3v3.
2v2, 3v2. There is no 5v5? I thought it was 5v5. Wasn't it? Am I high? There is 3 modes on arena.
I'm sure there is no 5v5. Not in competitive.
There is 3 modes in arena.
Yeah, but in competitive there is only
2v2, 3v3? Really?
Yep.
So the 5v5 is not a competitive mode?
Or is it? It may be, but I rarely
I'm sure
play
that
5.
there is 3 modes.
If there is 5v5, I rarely play 5v5.
Yeah, I never played 5v5 either. So, but I'm pretty sure that there is 3 modes. When you open that tab, there is 3 modes to click.
That may be true, but I'm not sure.
All right, which is player versus player, just who kills the first team, and that's
the arenas are fairly straightforward.
Yeah.
There's the same number of players, the same number of roles. You get into a small arena,
and then
the goal is to kill the other team faster.
Wins, and that's it. And then you have battlegrounds, which is
battlegrounds are like scenarios with like big maps with larger groups of larger teams of people.
Yeah, between 10 and 15.
10 and 20, and you have set objectives.
Yeah.
So you have capture the flag or
Correct.
control points or courting things.
Yeah.
There are different objective-based scenarios.
Correct. For the BGs.
Yep.
So, do you like PvP in World of Warcraft?
I like battlegrounds.
Yeah.
And I like world PvP, which is a different thing. But
yeah.
My problem with arenas is that PvP plays completely different to PvE.
Correct.
It's just a different game.
Yeah. That's like compare between raids and Mythic. Yeah, Mythic has more emphasis on killing big groups of enemies, as we said that the trash is more important in Mythics, but it's not that far from raiding, right?
No,
but PvP,
all the PvE content is very close between them.
Yeah, correct.
It's just that the way that you play, like the focus on PvE, especially in arenas, changes a lot.
Yeah.
And as you were saying, in PvE, there's a lot of focus on damage and dealing efficient damage.
Correct.
PvP is way more focused on controlling people and baiting.
CC and survivability, yes. Super focused on CC
Not
and
only survivability, but like that mind game of you're trying to bait the big cooldowns of the other team.
Yeah.
It's kind of a tug of war kind of thing.
Yeah,
that you just go, you find yourself, and you're trying to say, "Hey, come at me! Look at me! Hey, shoot me! Shoot me!" And you're basically trying to bait out the big cooldowns, and you're trying to outlast her.
Correct.
But that whole way of playing and CC and you're
something different than what you're doing. Yeah.
And run down their cooldowns and trying to be on top of that. It's such a different way of playing the game.
Absolutely.
One thing that I will say is that you learn a lot about your own class by doing it, because you have to know your spells better.
You learn control. What is your defensives? Yeah.
You have to know your class way better to be good, quote unquote, at PvP.
Yeah.
Or not being just complete trash.
Yeah. We have played some BGs. I find the BGs interesting. I agree with you because of the
BGs
objective
are
mode.
more free for all chaos.
So yes,
and it's more forgiving. Arenas are just focused.
Yeah.
One mistake, like you misplace one CC, you misplace one slow, and you lose then counter.
You're dead. Yeah. Period.
and that's basically what the arenas are. It's just the team that makes the least amount of mistakes. It's probably gonna win.
Yeah, correct. Well, I like that you at least have options, right? If you wanna dip your tools on PvP, or you have to do PvP stuff on the game, you at least don't not forced necessarily to go and do arenas. And
you're not forced, but the game. It's clear that the message that the game is giving the players is that you should do a little bit of everything.
Correct.
And the game does encourage people to do all the stuff.
Yeah, which is fine. But right now, the good things about Shadowlands, the PvP players got a big boost because now they have a very clear path of progression in terms of gear, no, for them.
Which
was not the case in the past expansion.
PvP gear in BFA was a complete mess.
Yeah, correct.
It was set on a rotation.
Yeah,
it didn't make any sense. It was just painful, like a painful grind. Now PvP has a vendor and you can choose the things that you want. It's way better.
So much better. Yes, I agree. I haven't done any PvP beyond war PvP in Shadowlands. Have you done any PvP in Shadowlands?
I think I've run a couple of BGs.
I've done no PvP in Shadowlands at all.
But not much.
Yeah, so what do you think about that?
Eventually, I'll have to arenas or something because I have
to do stuff.
There are conduits and there are legendary recipes in either as a PvP reward or in the PvP vendor. So we'll probably have to do it at some point.
Yeah, we will at some point have to do it. So, what is our opinion about PvP? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it in terms of World of Warcraft?
It's not that it's bad. It's just different.
It's a different game.
It is so different that you cannot compare it to the rest of the game.
Yeah. And the example they have here is comparing with Destiny PvP, right? You care about different things when you're going in terms of items and what you're doing when you're going to Destiny PvP, but it is not as different than when you're doing PvE stuff. Right, you can You can go with your build, your PvE build, and not be as bad in PvP.
This is the thing: is that you can go with your PvE build.
Yeah.
And if you're mechanically good enough, you can overcome like the gear, like the build inefficiency.
Correct. In Destiny, yes.
Yeah. In World of Warcraft, it's kind of the like you just have to be mechanically good at PvP, and no matter how overgeared you are, if you're not good mechanically, like knowing all your CCs and stuff, it doesn't matter. Like you can have mythic raiding gear, all your gear.
Yeah.
If you don't know how best in slot, all your PvE gear.
Yeah.
If you don't know how to PvP,
it
doesn't matter.
It
does not matter. It's that different.
So the thing is it's a mechanically very different game from the PvE thing. That's the thing, and that's why it is, at least for me, it is super jarring because it's a different game. I feel like it's a different thing.
It is super intimidating, and that's a problem that WoW has dealt with for the last couple of years.
Yeah,
is that they basically want people playing more PvP.
Yeah.
Because just because PvP is an amazing as an esport, it would work really well. So I want more people getting into PvP, but it's so intimidating for most people because it just plays different.
Correct.
You just have to learn your class again from zero.
Yes, correct, absolutely, in a different way. So I will say that in terms of what you're doing is good, but in terms of how it works with the rest of the game is kind of...
It feels very disconnected.
Yeah, it feels very disconnected. That's exactly what I was looking for. Yeah. And I think that's the thing about PvP. Wow, it's a different game for me.
That's the biggest problem.
Yeah.
And there are like in BFA struggle a lot since gearing up in PvP was not an option.
Yeah.
It felt like to get into PvP, you first needed to gear up on PvE.
Yeah, and it's like...
And that's just another barrier of entry for the whole PvP game. Now in Shadowlands, it seems that's going to be better, that if you just want to focus on PvP, you can do it from the beginning.
Yep.
And then you can get good at it from the beginning.
Yep.
But still a different game.
Correct. So I would say that is a good game mode, but it feels super different to the rest of the game, which is a problem. Like
if you are willing to put up the time to learn how to PvP in WoW,
it's good.
You're going to have a great time because it's actually very fast paced.
Yes.
Like it's surprisingly fast.
Yes. You will think it is not, but it is. Especially in arenas. In arenas, it's like you're dead in seconds.
Yeah, because WoW, like PvE WoW, it's not a slow pace, but it's definitely not fast paced.
Correct. Yeah.
Like especially dungeons and raiding, which is super methodic and like slow doing things and doing it well. Yeah. PvP is surprisingly fast paced.
Yeah. Yeah, I like with my Fury Warrior, I never smash as much buttons as doing PvP.
Yeah, no. PvP, and I guess that's the thing that it's more surprising about PvP in WoW.
Yeah.
Is that it's really like action-packed and action-oriented.
And that's cool, but it doesn't help him with the feeling of disconnection with the rest of the game.
It doesn't help with the problem of transitioning from one to the other.
Yeah.
But it's interesting nonetheless.
Yeah, it's interesting. Absolutely. All right.
But it is a problem, and they have to struggle a lot and
to try to
bring them together a little bit and get people to do both and enjoy both.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, and with that, we finish our mechanics looks at World of Warcraft. Next episode, we will look at how World of Warcraft tells his stories. That will be our next episode.
Janus Bay.
Oh my god. And for now, we'll pass to our audience questions and feedback. Remember, if you want to get in contact with us, you can write us down on emails. You can put comments down below in the comment section on YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube, we check it out. You can shoot us on Twitter directly to our veins, and we will check it out and put your burning questions here. You can pass by my stream and leave the questions there too. However you want to communicate with us, we're open to it. You just do it, right?
All the time.
So our first question of the week is, why it is so complicated to talk about World of Warcraft?
Because it is a game that made popular a lot of the trends that we see nowadays in RPGs and MMORPGs.
Yeah.
And since it was not pioneer, but like since it made a lot of the things popular.
Yeah.
It's first of all, it's kind of the standard a lot of people compare stuff to.
Correct. Yeah.
That makes it hard to look into, and it's an old game.
Yeah, it's a 15-year-old game, and we're still waiting for that WoW killer that will never come.
And for as modern as retail is, because it is a modern game.
Correct.
It carries some designs from 15 years.
Correct. And that makes it and that makes it super difficult to analyze, because so many things have changed in terms of game design and processes and how to approach your audience and how the gameplay of certain things should work and so it's super and on top of that, is because of the amount of time and the amount of content that the game is super difficult to see a complete picture of World of Warcraft, because it carries things from the year past and it matches it with modern things, modern designs, and they balance all that in this hodgepodge of game. So you have to think like how the old MMOs work, and that's that core mechanics come from that, and this is the new thing adjusting it, but it still has the old thing. It's hard.
I mean, you cannot analyze it in a vacuum, like aside from its history, and WoW has 15 years of history behind it. Makes it really hard to.
Yeah, we had a very easy time with the other games that we analyze here in the reviews, because we can just take the game by itself and decompose it and see clear intentions on what they're trying to do. But with WoW,
they're a little bit more self-contained.
Yeah, with WoW it's like
a little bit all over the place.
Yes. That is
for
absolutely
better or for worse.
Yeah, it has so many things, and so like we just spoke about different things in Raid Mythic and PvP, are total different things, and so that's why it's just a complex game by the nature of it. That's all I'm gonna say, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and the other question is Shadowlands worth to come back to World of Warcraft?
Depends. Again, it's we have talked between us about this before, and it's like modern World of Warcraft is a very different game from classic World of Warcraft.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the modern state of the game operates in this like borrow power paradigm.
Yeah.
Like this Magic the Gathering rotation of expansions.
Sets,
where you just wipe things after a while and they just completely disappear off the game.
Yes.
And if you fundamentally disagree with that way of handling the game, you're not gonna like retail.
Correct. Yeah.
Retail has a lot of that. Has a lot of borrow power. Has a lot of things that come and they're just gonna go away.
Yeah. Fundamentally.
If you don't like that, you're not gonna like retail.
Yeah.
If you're okay with that, then that's fine. That's what modern WoW is.
It's fine. All right, I'm gonna agree with Lucho. Like that's the way the game feels now, and it's always a hard thing to do. And to the point that I was telling him that the last time that I haven't getting rid of my old gear because I grow attached to it. But
I think the things that are hard to get.
Yeah.
Like you get attached to it. Fine.
Yes, correct. So that's the thing. Like but it's the nature of the game. I see it now, and it works. I feel like it works to his favors. Like he brings new things. He brings new.
Dude, it's just the direction that they took the game into.
Yeah.
You disagree with that direction?
Yeah, nothing to do. It's working for them. It's interesting for what they're doing. You don't like it? Well.
and it sounds is not like I don't mean it in a way that if you don't like it, go away.
Yeah.
It's just that's the modern state of the game.
Yeah. Correct.
That's the way that Blizzard took it.
Yeah.
If you have fundamental disagreements with the way that the game is designed currently, it's gonna take. They're not gonna do a 180 and just completely change the game.
Yeah.
Because it hasn't. Like the last, basically, Modern WoW was built since Warlords of Draenor.
Wasn't Mist?
Between Mist and Warlords was kind of a transition phase, but the modern WoW is basically Legion, BFA.
Yeah.
If you don't like that direction of the game in the last 6 years, you're not gonna like it.
Yeah, you're not.
And it's not changing anytime soon.
Yeah. I find the expansion interesting with the system that it has and the story that it's telling. I find it a little bit more interesting than BFA, at least for me. But beyond that, Lucho is right. Beyond the fresh coat of paint and the new story that is telling you, that's what you are expecting from retail WoW right now.
It's a lot of borrowed power, a lot of things that come and go faster, and things changing really fast.
So our recommendation is if you like Legion, it is really good it's safely for you to come back. If you don't like the rest, if you want your WoW Vanilla and Classic, there is WoW Classic for you.
Yeah,
and they are
pretty much.
And they're not charging an extra. Like you and me, we can go and play WoW Classic apparently.
Yeah, of course we can.
So, so it is there. Just paying the WoW subscription. All right, and that's all, my friend, for this episode.
That's all for this week's episode.
Yeah.
Once again, thanks for tuning in into The Sweaty, the Farmer, and the Game Design. My name is Lucho, and you can find me on Twitter at Luis G. Polanco.
And I am the London Gamer. And you can find me on Twitter at the London Gamer, and on Twitch on twitch.tv/LondonGamerTV, where I stream Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe, and come and hear our soothing voices through the internet. Bring your friends, bring your lovers. Tell everybody and post in all your social medias that you love us deeply as we do. And thanks all for coming to The Sweaty, the Farmer, and the Game Design. See you next time. Bye. And did you know, those who believe fries are Belgian say that they are called French because Belgian food and culture was often appropriated by the French due to their proximity to the country. And those who believe potatoes were first fried in Spain point to the fact that the Spanish were the first to bring potatoes across the Atlantic from the New World. So we don't know where exactly fries come and why they are called French fries.
Because Belgium.
Because Belgium. Or
I
Spain. Yeah.
Or not.
Who knows?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. McDonald's outsells every other company in the world in terms of fries.
Jesus, why? They're
Approximately
not good
7%
fries.
of the potatoes grown in the US meet the same fate. They become McDonald's French fries.
Oh my god.
And maybe McDonald's fries are actually addictive because people can't get enough of them. The fast food chain sells over a third of all French fries consumed in the US.
Jesus.
Yeah, because McDonald's fries are freaking amazing.
What? Really? Do you like McDonald's fries?
Oh, they're so good.
Really?
McDonald's fries?
Yeah. Do you like McDonald's fries? Really?
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. Like, I don't find it that amazing. I've had it better French fries, dude.
That's not possible.
Have you had El Corral French fries?
That's not McDonald's.
You don't like them? Really?
No, they're plain AF.
What do you mean plain AF? They have that special salt with the paprika.